The moral choice, suffering versus committing injustice. It is better to suffer an injustice than to commit one. Socrates infuriates Polus with the argument that it is better to suffer an injustice than commit one. Polus agrees that it is more shameful to commit an injustice, but maintains it is not worse. The worst thing, in his view, is to suffer injustice. Socrates argues that if something is more shameful, it surpasses in either badness or pain or both. Since committing an injustice is not more painful than suffering one, committing an injustice cannot surpass in pain or both pain and badness. Committing an injustice surpasses suffering an injustice in badness. Differently stated, committing an injustice is worse than suffering one. Therefore, given the choice between the two, we should choose to suffer rather than commit an injustice. This argument must be understood in terms of the Socratic emphasis on the care of the soul. Committing an injustice corrupts one's soul, and therefore committing injustice is the worst thing a person can do to himself. If one commits injustice, Socrates goes so far as to claim that it is better to seek punishment than avoid it on the grounds that the punishment will purge or purify the soul of its corruption. Eudaimonism. The Greek word for happiness is eudaimonia, which signifies not merely feeling a certain way, but being a certain way. A different way of translating eudaimonia is well-being. Many scholars believe that Socrates holds two related but not equivalent principles regarding eudaimonia. First, that it is rationally required that a person make his own happiness the foundational consideration for his actions, and second, that each person does in fact pursue happiness as the foundational consideration for his actions. In relation to Socrates' emphasis on virtue, it is not entirely clear what that means. Virtue could be identical to happiness, in which case there is no difference between the two, and if I am virtuous, I am by definition happy. Virtue could be a part of happiness, in which case if I am virtuous, I will be happy, although I could be made happier by the addition of other goods. Or virtue could be instrumental for happiness, in which case if I am virtuous, I might be happy, and I couldn't be happy without virtue. But there is no guarantee that I will be happy. There are a number of passages in the Apology that seem to indicate that the greatest good for a human being is having philosophical conversation. 36 BD, 37 E38A, 40 E41C. Meno 87C 89A suggests that knowledge of the good guides the soul toward happiness. Cf. Euthydemus 278 E282A. And at Gorgias 507 AC, Socrates suggests that the virtuous person, acting in accordance with wisdom, attains happiness. Cf. Gorgias 478 CE, the happiest person has no badness in his soul.